Hi, I'm Charmaine, and welcome to the Love of Self podcast, where we delve into the emotional aspects of finding love for self. Today's topic is empower yourself. Now, today's topic, I want to go into the definition of empowerment. I feel it necessary to bring up the difference between the word power and the word empowerment. I did look up the definition of power, and I found one definition that resonated with me for today's topic, and that definition is the capacity or ability to direct or influence the behavior of others or the course of events. Then I looked up the word empowerment. And one of those definitions is the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. And looking at these definitions, I tried to think and go into the relationships that I had with people in whatever way it was, whether it be work or personal, where there was a power dynamic between myself and others, and there's an empowerment that I needed within myself. What resonated with me with the word power, there tends to be a controlling factor and I'm basing this on my personal experiences, where there's a want within someone to, in some way, control others for their own benefit. And oftentimes within that dynamic, it was very difficult to create an equilibrium of fairness with the person who had the power and the person who was underneath that person's power and control. Once that person gained the power, it was extremely hard, difficult. There's a lot of fight that has to happen in order for fairness or some type of equilibrium between the power dynamics between the two energies or people or whatever we want to call it. And when I looked into empowerment and what that meant for me, it was more so bringing myself to a place that I was not at in a positive direction or a positive outlook in the way that I wanted to go in my life. Or in other terms, it's taking on power over my life that I did not have before. It was taking on the responsibilities to justify a fight within myself and also somewhat of a revolutionary presence of my best good in spite of how that made someone else feel or who once felt like they had power over me or whatever the case may be, depending on the relationship that I'm speaking of. So I wanted to delve into that energy of essentially making the attempts to take over the power in my life for my own best good, and my children, of course. but, speaking about me personally and my thought process of the need to stop allowing people to feel okay with their power that they felt they had over me. And one of the first things that I feel I had to do was leave those relationship dynamics, or I just had to no longer participate with their justifying their treatment over my life. A lot of times people can think that they are doing something for your best good. They may feel like they are well-intentioned by needing this control. And a lot of the control that I would feel from other people had a lot to do with speaking. Like when I was in certain relationships or certain communication with people, I found that people who wanted to control me did not want to hear me. They did not want to listen to hardly anything that I had to say, or what I was saying had to be shut down and they had to take over the conversation for whatever reason, they felt like they needed to do that. I feel like I've dealt with that all my life. And my coping mechanism, because I tended to not be confrontational, especially as a child, I would often just allow them to think that they had the control. I would just shut down. I would just let them take control of the conversation, because I wasn't willing to put in all of this fight just to be heard. I didn't like the energy from it. I didn't like the negativity I felt of feeling that I needed to yell at people in order for them to completely hear what I needed to say at the time. So I would then empower my energy, or take the power back, by removing myself from those individuals. I feel like it was necessary, because I oftentimes felt like, there's no getting through to people who feel like they needed power over my voice. So that was the remedy. The remedy to not being heard was for me to hear myself internally. And then I would analyze the situation and figure out the ins and outs of why people had that need. And that was my coping mechanism of dealing with someone else's power, was understanding why they needed to control me. And essentially it's because they feel powerless. that was my conclusion on how I analyzed all these situations internally. I have to take over first so that you don't take over me. And it can become a situation where the dynamic is almost impulsive all the time with every situation, because there can be such a sensitivity towards that feeling to jump out and take over, because I may look not right, or I may look not smart, or I may look not strong. So in order for me to beat out those potential judgments in others, I have to take over. And the person on the other end of that can suffer. They can suffer, especially if you're a person who truly wants understanding, and it seems like everyone they don't want to understand you. It seems sometimes that they aren't interested in the understanding. They're only interested in being right, being the one with the upper hand, or the one with the know-all, the one to come to, because that power helps their esteem. So now, knowing and discovering these things within myself through other people, I have to give myself authority over recognizing the harm I'm allowing other people to do to me, and my own need to be heard, my own need to feel respected. And how do I do those things within a balanced manner, where I make the attempts that I can not to overcorrect the situation or do my part to not escalate it into negativity or too much negativity. I feel like I have to become aware of what I do by my avoidance of confrontation and my internal soothing, I'll say, to give myself the grace to confront the issue of being shut down all the time, to empower my image. And, that takes ego. And ego is necessary at times as being a human being, and the need to protect ourselves as human beings. It's necessary. I personally believe, as far as myself goes, I call it having a balanced ego. everything's about balance, and learning to balance. I think, the life of a human, the soul's evolvement is learning to balance everything. Learning when to give, learning when to take, learning how to be, and learning how to accept. For me, are some of the most important things to learn in life. And the interactions with all of us and how that helps us grow and heal and maneuver into our best selves. Or at least, try to have some understanding of it as best as we can. So, I cherish the thought of standing up for me is my empowerment, and letting someone know what they're doing to me can be an empowering lesson for both parties. It just depends on the evolution or maturity of the other person. But regardless, if I'm making the attempt to give myself balanced authority over my life, I know at least I'm learning the lesson. I can't control, what someone else learns or feels or acts. I can only give my best understanding and stop hiding away from the conflict, because especially being an empathic person, I'm too concerned with the emotions of another person when the other person has no concern over their actions creating the negative emotions in me. That's a completely unbalanced interaction. So I have to take the stance for myself. I have to empower my communicative abilities for what is justly fair. I hope with these interactions that we can both learn something. But I know for damn sure I'm going to do what I need to do for my best emotional good, for my best ways of acting out what is necessary. So, the recognition that I have authority over my emotional, spiritual awareness, as well as the awareness of my necessary ego, that I have the authority over that. And even when people try to have power and control over me because they have not healed something. The realization of that within itself, without any action yet, is an empowering realization. Because now I have knowledge. Now I have the space created within my mind to begin taking the mental steps forward towards the change that I need to make, towards the love that I need to create within myself. Standing up for yourself is loving yourself. Especially in the best and most balanced way possible. If I can do it in a balanced way to where I am still compassionate to the other person, but I'm still firm within myself and what I need to empower what I need, as well as having compassion for what someone else may not have healed within them. I think that is a beautiful sentiment, if it's possible, because I know that can be extremely difficult, especially dealing with other people and you know, some interactions may call for some fierce backlash, and I get that. I'm not saying everything's always gentle, you know, I'm not saying that at all. I know better than that, but the recognition that I can empower myself with what is necessary for both people, both individuals, entities, whatever the case may be, within my firm stance of what is right, true, just. That is such a beautiful, empowering thing. The more I come into that recognition with interactions that I have, the more I create the balance within myself and outside of myself with my actions, the better evolution I can have. But, you know, everybody's different. Everybody has their own way. And that's okay. I feel it's important for me to try, though. It's important for me to at least make the attempts of understanding. And know that I can't control anybody. And they, for damn sure, can't control me. I would like to thank everyone who has listened to me speak about this. I greatly, greatly appreciate you. I'd like to know what you think about this topic. What do you think it may take for you to empower yourself? In what ways do do you feel you need empowerment? What is your idea of balance within your delivery of empowering yourself? I'd love to hear from you. Please email me at theloveofselfpodcast@gmail.com. Please remember, I'm not a licensed therapist. Again, I wish everyone peace, love, and joy always. Until next time.